everyone, my name is Steve Swashi, and welcome back to my CV2 course where I'll be teaching you throughout your entire CV2 journey. Today's lesson is about dynamic and static lists. Also, I'm sorry that there was a delay of the video. It was supposed to be posted a long time ago, this lecture specifically, but I had some plans on the weekend that interfered, which is why there was a delay. But anyways, let's get into static and dynamic list. I'll be teaching you guys those things today, and yeah, let's get started. Alright guys, so in the last lecture, I taught you about data types, and with lists, there comes data types, so I'm going to show you those right now. So if we go to Circuits V2, we go to search chips, and then we go to variables, you see all of these here, and then there's all these variables and data types that I told you about. But as you can see, there's the list of all these variables. So there's a variable list for bool, float, int, string, and many other things, even quaternions, vector threes. We'll be getting those, and we'll be getting to those in way other lectures. Today we're going to be mainly focusing on the list string. If you want to know about any of these other data types, please tell me in the comments. I will demonstrate them in the comments. Okay, but anyway, so we have a variable list string right here. Now, right here, this is a dynamic list. But before we get to dynamic list, we first have to learn about static lists. So right now, I'm going to create a static list. To create a static list, in your palette menu, search up list create, and then search up list create, and then it should be right here. So what you're gonna want to do here, so right here, as you can see, the list create, this is our static list that we've created. Now it says any on all of these values, and this one says list any. But the reason why it's saying any is because we haven't applied any data type to it yet. So this could be an int bool, it could be anything that that's like a dynamic list. So we have to tie it to that. So this right here is a dynamic list, and if we tied this dynamic list to this static list, we've now made this static list a string list because of how we tied up our dynamic list onto our static list. So now I'm going to show you some of the things that you can do with list. The first thing I'm going to show you is printing out list. So to print out list, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to first put in some input values, and right here I'm just going to name it. You can name anything. I'm going to name mine test1. And then I'm going to name this one test2. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not good at typing. Oh, sorry. Well, I meant to name it test2. But anyways, this one has an uppercase. This one has a lowercase, so it's different. Now, so we have our static list right here tied up to our dynamic list. So now, to print these out, we're going to have to use something called get element. And there's a lot that comes with get element. So what I'm going to be explaining about get element. So get element will gets an element of a list, and the elements are these. So elements, when we're doing them, we're starting from 0. So we start counting from 0. So you may be thinking, oh, this is element 1 right here. Nope. This isn't element 1. This is element 0 because we start counting from 0. This is element 1. So this is element 0. This is element 1. Sorry. Always remember to count from 0 when you're using list. So now if we type this list, now we have it connected to this list. So now we're getting the index value of this element, which is index 0. You could also call these indexes. So now that we're getting index 0, it's going to print out the value, which is going to be test1 with the capital T. And as you can see right here, we have test1. Now, if we wanted to print this, we could print this many ways. We could show a notification, but I'm going to teach you something new. This is new called log strings. Now, log strings I really like to use because it's just really convenient, and I'll show you why. So right here, we type this up to a log string, and I'll just show you that really quick. First, we're going to be using a button to send this out. So right here, that was a button v1. Sorry about that, guys. Never use a button v1. You can't use a button v1 in CV2. But anyways, right here. So if I move this down, sorry about that, guys. If I move this down, move this up. Okay. So if we do pressed, it's going to print out test1 inside of the log. Now, what is the log? Well, if we go into Circuits V2 and then go into logging, this is the log. This is where all your errors will display. Like, the most errors that I get is like invalid, index, or out of range. And you can see all of those here. Now, what we're going to do here is when we press this button, the log string will come up in white and it'll say test1. So if we press this button, it says test1. And also a cool thing that you can do with log strings is change the color. And if I changed it to green, it'll print in green. And if I change it to blue, it'll print in blue, and so on and so on. You could also change it to red if you're like trying to give a player an error that's using the log. And if we do timestamps, it'll show us what time in military time we printed these out. There's one more thing that I'm going to show you with static lists, so let's do that. I didn't mean to delete that. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, another thing I'm going to show you with static lists is random from lists. Now, there's many other things that you can do with static lists, many other more important things. So let me actually show you those more important things, because that's just better and more convenient for you guys. So let me do that. Okay, let's see. If we go to list. Now, we can do something like, we could do, let's see, there's not too much we can do with static list. We can get the count of the list. Yeah, that's really useful. Okay, that's really useful. So if we tie this up, and let's say that you're doing something where it's like a really complicated list. You have a really complicated list, and we had a bunch of indexes. Let me move this over here. Okay, so if we add a bunch of indexes or inputs in this case, um, and then as you can see, we have all of these. And actually, let me add a few more. Let me add a few more, just to show how important this list get count can be. Okay, so that's a lot of indexes. Now, you might be like just putting in a bunch of stuff in these indexes and not even counting as you go along. If you do, then you don't have to do this list that get count. But if you are just counting and I mean not counting and just writing any input values inside the list, and you want to get the count without having to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just counting them, you could just do list that get count, and you could just do this. It'll show 32. So 32 indexes are on this list. And if you wanted to print that out in a log just for like informational purposes, then you would just do this. You do something called a toString. Now, what a toString does is, if you watch data types, it converts any value into a string, and they made this value, this int variable, a string, and we can print this out in the log by using a log string. Yeah, a log string. Yep. So then if we do this, and we press the button, wire it up. Wait, sorry about that, guys. Wire it up. We press it, and then it will show 32 inside the log in white. So now I'm gonna explain this one more time. So we press the button, it prints out the log string, and we make the log string by getting the count of this list, and the count of this list is 32. Now let me just get rid of the toString to show you what will happen if we try to tie this up. It will say error invalid type. So you can't tie up an int to a string just because you can't. It's not the same type of data type. But if we have a toString and we convert this int variable into a string, and then we just press the button again, and yep, everything will work perfectly. Now time to move on to a dynamic list. Okay, guys, dynamic list. So there's a lot more that you can do with dynamic lists, such as list add, list insert, so much stuff, and I'll show you guys that right now. Again, lists are very important. You might be using those a lot in CV2. So let's try first list add. So if we do list add, and then we hook this up. Sorry about that. We hook this up. Hold up, give it a second to load. This list add is loading. Okay, there we go. So, basically, what this will do is it'll add something to the list on an event that's send. Or if we press a button, it could be anything that has like a execute on it. So this has an execute on it. Oh god, what the frick? Sorry about that, guys. I did not know what that was. Sorry. So yeah, if we have pressed and we press this button, it'll add whatever we put in here. So if we just wanted to add something like bananas into this list, and we press the button. Well, you might be wondering, wait, we can't see it. Like, where's bananas at? Well, to see that, what you're gonna want to do is something called list contains. List contains is very important to see what's inside of variable list. So if we tie up this list contains to this, and then we say if it contains bananas, and we do this, and we point it at the boolean value, it'll say true because it does contain bananas, the input value. Now, this is important because if you're never be too confident with dynamic lists, and the reason I'm saying this is because using dynamic list is like you have to always be checking to see if the list contains an input value. Because let's say that you didn't press the button and you think you did, and then you think that bananas is added to the list. It can mess up a whole lot of things. So it's always good to use a list contains and see if it contains the value that you had. So another thing that we can do is list insert. List insert, list insert, list insert. Okay, and we tie it up. So now this is the same exact thing as list add, but you're adding it at a certain index. So let's say that I wanted to add it at an index like 34. Random index, random index, and then we just said a bunch of random letters. Doesn't matter. Does not really matter. So what we did here is we just added this value to the index 34. Nothing too special. Now the thing that I want to say before I end off this lecture is that list, you could only have so much in a list. I think the maximum of indexes that you can have in a list is 50. So try not to make too big of lists because that'll just cause problems and it'll probably take up a lot of net and or CPU. Also, there's one thing that I wanted to do at the end of this lecture that I've been wanting to do, and that I've actually been requested in the comments. This is like a bonus section. You guys don't have to watch this if you don't want to. This was requested by a commenter, but I'm going to do it right now. So let me just get started with that. So here, I think what the commenter wanted was he wanted it to make it to where, like, when we push a button, it'll set the text and it'll keep adding up numbers. So basically, when we push a button, it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll just keep adding up. So what we're gonna do for that is we're gonna do pressed. So when this is pressed, we're gonna get a variable int. Remember, guys, this is a bonus section. This is not anything about list. So if you guys don't want to watch this, you can just go on to the next lecture if it's posted. So when we press this, and we add, we get something called an add right here, and we wire this up. We're basically saying we want to add whatever this is. So let's make this value 1. And then we make this also 1. And then we put the sum back here. Okay. So right here, what we're doing is, it's really actually complicated for me to explain. I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can. So we have our variable int here. And basically, what this is doing is that it's saying whatever value is here, I tied up the sum, which is 1 here, and it's basically saying this is equal to this. So whatever this is equal to this. So I know you can't see it, but this value right here, was a value, and it's saying that this is equal to this. So basically, when we press this button, this is not going to be 1 anymore. This is going to be 2. And then it's basically going to say 2 plus 1. So it's really hard to explain. Basically, this is going to be 2, and this is also going to be 2, and we're saying 2 plus 1. So if we do this, and I just do this, it'll say 2. And we're putting the sum all the way back to here, which is saying that it's increasing every time we press the button. So now that we have 2, if we do that again, it'll say 3. And then it'll say 4, 5, and we keep pressing it. I just pressed it 2 times, which is why it says 7. But yeah, now to set the text of the button. So, we're gonna use something called button set text, and we're going to tie this button up to the target because we're targeting this button, and we want to change this button's text only, and we want to change the text to whatever the sum is. And to do that, we're going to be using something that we just did with lists called a toString. And we use this. And we tie this value up to here. And then this is a string that equals to 7. And it'll keep increasing. So basically, whenever we, let's say, release this, it'll increase. So as you can see, we've made our button now, and it's counting up from what we started with. And yeah, it's just counting up. And yeah, that's how you make this simple button. It's not that hard when you get used to it. Sorry about that, guys. When you get used to doing CV2, this will just be the most easiest formula that you've ever done. But yeah. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's lecture. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions about the bonus section or just the list lecture in general, then please tell me in the comments. That'll help me a lot. And also give feedback. That'll help a lot also. Thank you so much. This is T5 Gamer Swashi signing off.